Hi, thank you very much for clicking on this video. So today I'm going to be talking about training because gyms are actually opening. Boris gave us the all clear and the 25th is the day that everyone's going to go back into the gym. So I wanted to talk about it's not how much you lift, it's how you lift. First thing I think everyone should really be focusing on is making sure that their form is spot on. So form just basically relates to the execution and the technique of an exercise. This is really important because if your technique and your execution is spot on, then you're reducing your risk of injury and you're working the muscles that you want to work, not muscles that you don't. You don't want to be going to the gym for like 2 days and then you get an injury and then you're spending pretty much the length of lockdown trying to recover from that injury. And you also don't want to like pick up any bad habits because you haven't focused on learning the basics and then get a few months into your training and wonder why you've hit a sticking point because your form's off. So I think it's really important that we give form a lot of attention as we go back into training. And the common misconception as well with form is that everyone should look the same when they perform a specific lift. However, like, we are all built differently, so there are going to be variances in form. There are key points in technique that should be applied to each exercise. To know whether your form's right, I really will push that everyone should have the involvement of a coach or a PT, especially if you're new to training, because having that second eye to judge whether you're performing something correctly is going to cut loads of time from and loads of effort when someone else can just be like, okay, this is wrong, this is right, and this is how you should be doing it. And it will save you a whole bunch of stress, and it might even save you injuries if you can get someone else to get involved and help you out with your lifts. Also, if you are going to be doing it by yourself, I think it's important that you film your lifts. You ask yourself, am I feeling it where I'm meant to be feeling it? Am I feeling it in areas I'm not meant to be feeling it? And then by watching the videos and assessing how you feel when you do them, you can kind of make these adjustments and making sure that you're doing that lift correctly so you can get the most out of that training instead of like not really doing what you're meant to be doing. So the next thing I want to talk about is preparing for your gym sessions. I know I've heard about a couple of gyms having time limits on training sessions, and I think this might be a bit problematic because it is so important that you prepare for your gym sessions. You want to make sure that you're warm and you're mobile and you're activated, and by activated I mean just the muscles you're trying to work are activated before you train them. So this is really important again because it's preventing injuries. And a really good example is in squats. Squats involve your posterior chain, which is your hamstrings, your glutes and your lower back. And if you don't spend time warming up, so getting your heart rate up, getting your body warm, and then activating your glutes and also mobilizing your hips, squats can be like awful for injuries. You can hurt your back, you can hurt your hips just from not taking the time out to properly prepare for that exercise. So it's important that you activate your glutes, especially in a squat, because if your glutes aren't firing as you come down into the squat, you're more likely to use your lower back because your glutes aren't able to basically work, and this can cause a lot of stress on your lower back and either mean that you can't lift very much or you're gonna get injured. So I think it's really important that you prepare for your gym sessions adequately and you take at least 10 to 20 minutes warming up, activating, mobilizing, and before you start your lifts. The last thing I kind of want to talk about is some alternative methods to progression other than increasing the reps or increasing the loading. So a lot of us who haven't had access to super heavy weight, going back into the gym and maybe every session trying to hit a heavier weight or trying to hit like a lot more reps isn't going to be entirely smart because our bodies aren't really used to a lot of loading. We've reduced our loading dramatically, and maybe your muscles might be able to adapt quicker to increase loading because you were able to lift 100 kilos before. However, your joints are going to adapt a little bit slower and your ligaments are going to adapt a little bit slower. So there are other ways that you can progress a lift that will be a lot safer because it's less loading onto your actual body, but you're actually going to be able to make the lifts harder, therefore be able to kind of work your muscles harder with the same weight or with slightly reduced weight. So a really good way of increasing the difficulty of a lift is just slow it down. Just take your time with it. Feel each rep, making sure you don't rush through your reps, and it's called time under tension. So it means that when you perform a lift, you're contracting a muscle, you're just releasing that contraction a lot slower, therefore your muscle's still working because you're doing it slower. If you do a rep really fast and then you release it really fast, obviously there's less of a time where that muscle was working. So increasing the time in which that muscle is working is progressing the lift from maybe whether you do like normal reps and then the next session you're like, okay, I don't want to really put more weight on the bar and I don't really want to do too many more reps. Slow the same rep range down and you're still progressing that lift. Another way of progressing your lifts is using pauses. So pauses is basically like, again, time and attention. So do the squat, hold it at that point where your muscles are working, at the bottom of the squat where your quads are working, your glutes are working, and then come out of that lift. Again, same points as before. It's just really going to help you progress instead of having to add loads of weight onto the bar and put stress on your body. Okay, and the last point is reducing the rest in between each set. So if you're reducing the rest in between each set, or you're doing something like a rest pause, your muscle hasn't had enough time to adequately recover from the previous set. Therefore, it's going to be working harder to use the same weight because it hasn't got the same resources, because it hasn't fully recovered. So the movement will feel a lot harder with less weight or with the same weight. And this is going to be more stress on your muscles, which is actually what you want, but less stress on your joints and your tendons because it is the same weight. I hope this video was informative. I try my best to not to ramble too much. It's a lot shorter than my other ones. If you did like this video, you did find it useful, I'd really appreciate it if you could leave a comment or a like or save it and let me know what you think and let me know what you'd like to see. I hope everyone has a sick training session on the 25th and hopefully I will kind of get more into a rhythm and make more of these videos.